Now, we can expect more of his demagoguery and personal attacks and phony promises. But I have no intention of getting down in the gutter with him. Instead, I intend to continue discussing the issues.
We Tennesseans challenge you Texans to join us in producing the greatest victory for government, for republicanism, and for America in our history by re-electing our president and Republican candidates across the face of our nation. Thank you very much.
Elected governor, Hank Grover, needs unity, but he also needs money. $1.5 million to be exact in order to get his campaign off the ground. But his big hurdle now is how to convince those would-be contributors that he has any chance of beating Democrat Dolph Briscoe. Martha McIntire, Channel 8 News on the Move at the State Republican Convention in Dallas.
After the speeches, the convention bogged down for hours in caucus and committee meetings. In those caucuses, 1/4 of the members of the newly elected state committee are Wallicites. There also are some McGovern delegates elected. In Dallas County, Chairman Earl Luna lost some of his strength, but still has basic control of the party. One Dallas district, number 16, had a shouting match with Al Lipscomb in the middle of it. It had to be controlled by sergeant of arms and sheriff's deputies. In Tarrant County, new committee men and women were elected in both senatorial districts. Former Senator Ralph Yarborough told me there's a definite liberal trend
Well, actually, we were very well pleased with the overall performance of our offensive line. We were very worried going into the ball game against Wake Forest on how well they could block against the large defensive linemen that Wake Forest had. They did an excellent job. We certainly felt like our overall defensive team played an excellent football game, but we've been looking very good in practice. We more or less anticipated this. I think Clint Hackney's ability to kick off in and out of the end zone and getting the ball extremely high on kickoffs was also very encouraging. But the running game, we anticipated Wayne Morris and Alvin Maxson to be outstanding because the good Lord blessed it with a lot of ability, and they utilized it. We were a little disappointed with Casey Artez's throwing, and we were a little disappointed with the snaps from center on our field goal, extra point, and punt attempts. We certainly will dedicate ourselves this week to try to polish up that phase of the game.
Relative to Casey, he was 5 of 15. Do you have any idea what was going wrong?
Yes, a couple of things. One is that Casey wasn't getting completely set and throwing off of his back foot like he should have been in the ball game. He was drifting and throwing off balance on 5 or 6 of the passes that he threw. And Casey's an excellent passer. He'd been looking extremely good in practice. And the fact that he was just off target, just a little bit high on most of the throws, leads us to believe that this is a very minor adjustment he has to make to become a real fine passer.
Well, Coach Reynolds, he recruited me, and he just seemed to be a real fine individual. And the people, too, just the atmosphere of the town, it's just real pleasant. And my brother's here, but, you know, I wasn't going to let that interfere. But it is mainly the people, the school, and just everything. It's real good.
But our party is aimed particularly at those conditions that oppress not only Chicanos, but everybody else, blacks and poor whites included, or students or women, or depending on how your particular viewpoint is or perspective is. We're going to try to reflect in our platform those issues very relevant, very important to the Chicano community. And those issues statewide are not much different than the issues affecting blacks or poor whites or women or students or any other kind of oppressed minority.
The wrecking yard in question is Bill's Auto Salvage in the 7900 block of North Skillman Avenue, an acre of junk cars stacked on top of each other. Property owners in the area have petitioned the Board of Adjustment to close the yard on the grounds it's an unhealthy nuisance which has delayed residential growth. But J.R. White, the owner of the wrecking yard for the past 12 years, doesn't see it that way. He contends his yard is not responsible for any of the claims made against it. In fact, White sees his business with an important role in today's car-oriented society by helping to get rid of the old worn-out vehicles which have become its byproduct. White says all he wants is to be left alone, to run what he feels is a legitimate business. And if the Board of Adjustment eventually rules against him, White wonders what he can go. Jack Hill, Channel 8 News on the Move.
Finished in time. Activity in, around, under, and on top of the structure is at a feverish pitch. Tile setters, carpet layers, seat installers, electricians, landscapers, and 100 other workers won't slow down. The deadline is fast approaching. To look at it now and visualize where it'll be in less than 2 weeks, you're really not sure. But those who have been closest to the project and have watched it grow say you can see improvement each hour of every day.
11 days from now at 6 o'clock on October the 1st, they'll move in the scenery for No No Nanette. There's not a doubt in anybody's mind here that the new music hall will be ready. Even the overall contractor has a smile on his face. Jerry Park, Channel 8 News, on the move at the new State Fair Music Hall.
I've had a good deal of experience in government, and I think that my background, the experience that I have, places me in a pretty good position to make an independent judgment once I get there. And I intend to go over there, take a good look at the commission, see what problems there are, if any, and try to solve them once I get there.
You're not going to have the honest-to-goodness power if these insurance bills pass, are you, that you would once have had as insurance board member?
No, I don't think that you will, and I think maybe that might be a good thing that you don't have. I'd certainly say that competitive rates would be more comparable with our system of what we think's right or wrong in Texas than it would be to let 3 people over there on the board determine what should be charged and what shouldn't. I've always been in favor of competition.
The significance of this case is the growing power of the executive over citizens. These men were taken all the way from New York, where they have their homes and their families and their jobs, way down to Texas to appear before this grand jury. They've never been accused of anything, and they're simply here on civil contempt charges, which they're now appealing, claiming that they shouldn't be forced to testify.
I thought he said 20,000. And I was a little shocked by that amount, and the door said no, he said 100,000. Well, the first thing that went through my mind was that he had effectively denied them bail, both in violation of Justice Douglas's order and the 8th Amendment of the Constitution.
If confidence is contagious, Texas Republicans have exposed themselves today with a hefty dose. They're riding high on the popularity of Richard Nixon and U.S. Senator John Tower, and they hope to capture the State House as well. So no holes are barred in lambasting their Democratic opposition. Quiet as the convention hall boomed with cheers, Senator Tower later sniped at his opponent, Barefoot Sanders. While Texas Republicans speak of a Nixon landslide and a Tower victory, Senator Henry Grover's race for governor is called more of an uphill scramble. The convention hall went wild as Grover pleaded for unity among Republicans. Like all families, he said, we've had our quarrels, but that's over now.
The Democratic Party today in Texas is more unified than it's been in the last 20 years. We've seen an open convention where every legitimate point of view was heard, where the delegates were free to express their will, to elect their own committeemen and women, to write the kind of platform that they wanted the Democratic Party of Texas to run on. And I think that the Democratic Party is unified from top to bottom. I think it ensures the election of Dolph Briscoe as governor and Barefoot Sanders as United States Senator.
And so from this exercise, the Democrats go out into the campaign to try to retain the governor's office in the face of the most severe challenge ever from Republicans. This is Roger McDonald, Channel 8 News on the Move in Houston.
5 Irish-born New Yorkers found themselves in Abilene, Texas today in yet another chapter of the legal entanglement story of the Fort Worth Five. The men are suspected of, but not charged with, running guns to the Irish Republic Army. Supreme Court Justice Douglas ordered Judge Leo Brewster, now holding court in Abilene, to set bond on their civil contempt charges arising from their failure to testify before a federal grand jury in Fort Worth. Doris Peterson, attorney for the five, explained the significance of the case. As they were leaving, the Fort Worth Five encouraged us to read a couple of pages from a book on Thomas Jefferson. The subject matter, Judicial Injustice. For Channel 8 News on the Move, this is Judy Hanna in Abilene.
The board met in closed session today, hearing no witnesses because, they say, they've heard the complaints so many times before. Lee Hacker, director of the home, told me this morning he was a bit disappointed in the behavior of the county commissioners yesterday. Out of $327,000 annual budget at the home, Hacker said, we get roughly $12,000 from Tarrant County. Yet they acted yesterday as if they were virtually our sole source of financial support. Hacker pointed out that when Tarrant County places a child at the home, it pays $50 per month for support. On the other hand, he said, we have some kids from Travis County, and they pay $150 per month. As to the commissioner's plan to add 5 new board members as personal contacts at the home, Hacker noted that the home has little choice but to say okay. What else can we do, he says. If we tell them no, it's going to sound mighty strange. And, of course, he continues, the home does want any opportunity for a closer liaison with any agency such as the Commissioner's Court. Jerry Taff, Channel 8 News on the Move, Fort Worth.
The study reflected that about 87% of the members of various boards are white. In general, the report also reflected that over 75% are in the age group between 40 and 60. And I suppose as a general statement, you could say that most of the boards are made up of white, middle-aged, and middle-class people.
On the northern section that was discussed today on the west side of the airport, there will be approximately 11 families, or about 28 people involved on the northern section. On the southern section, there will be approximately 6 families, about 18 people involved. And of course, these people will be offered the full relocation assistance.
How long will it be before this project will get underway, or do you have any idea?
Our best estimate would be that possibly right away could not be, or even begin to be secured until sometime in 1974.